Welcome to the third session of Conquering Stress. Last time we explored some treasures that we can pursue instead of being trapped by the empty promises that bring anxiety and stress into our lives. Before that, in our first session, we looked at some external sources of stress. That is, everything and everyone that are in our lives and bring us stress. Today we are going to look into internal sources of stress. That is, those parts of ourselves, that which is within us, that brings stress and anxiety in our own life. And we're going to look at some tools and methods to let some of that stress go, to give ourselves permission to enjoy life a little bit better. To understand the stress within us, we first must know what's going on inside. What keeps us living in a stressful world instead of enjoying a life of peace and joy and tranquility? So let's take a look. Stress in each of us is a whole lot like the stress that animals experience. Look at this poor creature. He seems to be nervous and afraid of everything. Why? Because the whole world is out to get him. Rabbits can sense danger and have a strong sense of fear that causes them to, you guessed it, run away. That is called a flight response. Now check out this little guy. He's in danger just like the rabbit, but when he senses trouble, he might not run away. Instead, he just might attack. This is called a fight response. This fight or flight response is built into each of us, into our instincts. And it is always triggered by fear. Now this fear does not have to be fear of becoming a meal for somebody. It could be a fear of any danger, whether physical danger or danger of emotional harm. An important difference between us as humans, especially as God's children, and the animals, is that we do not have to be slaves to our emotions. Stress comes into our lives through a chain of events. This is called the path to stress. First, a situation occurs. Of course, if nothing was going on in our life, we might be less stressed, but we would also be very bored. The situation triggers a surface emotion. This is simply how we react emotionally to the situation. This could be any emotion or feeling. You will be examining some of those feelings later in today's session. Sometimes the surface emotion results in a buildup of fear, which can grow into very strong feelings that demand urgent action. This could be a fear of change, a fear of loss, a fear of losing a relationship or your job or respect or even your life. It's not our emotional reaction to situations that create stress. It is this deeper feeling of fear that creates the physical and emotional stress that affects our bodies. Look at this verse. Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? Jesus makes it very clear that He wants to help us to avoid worrying and stress. Situations and circumstances happen. They just do. It is a normal part of life. We cannot stop ourselves from having emotional responses to those situations. We're simply wired as emotional creatures, and there is only one way to prevent stress from overwhelming us. What we can do to break the path to stress is to learn to conquer the fear. We must stop the fear that takes those feelings and turns them into stress. Fear is the enemy of everything that we are as Christians. Fear creates stress, and fear leads us into sin. Let's take a look at what the Bible says about fear. But whoever listens to me will live in safety and be at ease without fear of harm. There is always a biblical answer to whatever problems we have. We do not have to live with fear and stress ruling our lives. Now that we understand that it is fear that brings stress into our lives, we can take action to conquer this source of stress. To conquer stress, we must recognize the triggers. That is, to know the situations when our emotions come with an underlying fear that brings stress. If we know what triggers the fear and thus triggers the stress, we will know when and how to strike back. The most important response is to refuse to feed the fear. And this is accomplished by engaging in prayer. This is a crucial first response and must occur immediately as soon as we recognize the emotions and the fear are building up within us. Once in prayer, we give the situation and our fear over to God. And then trust God to bring calmness and strength. The more often we go into prayer when the heat is on, the more we will enjoy God's help in calming our fears. God replaces that fear with beautiful things such as love, hope, peace, joy, trust, forgiveness, and faithfulness. There are activities in your workbook to help you get started in your quest to break the path to stress. Enjoy your small group discussion, and praise be to God.